Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, checking in on the MJ space, Canadian first, then US. We're really seeing individual names break correlations. We're used to this sector moving as a group. We're seeing individual names standing out as stronger versus weaker, both on the Canadian side and on the US side. And a lot of that has to do with an environment where we don't have any short-term catalysts as far as the US MJ is concerned. Short-term catalyst for Canada is CGC earnings tomorrow, which we are watching for. And we are looking at a scenario where individual names putting out news is leading to breaks in correlations and other names standing out more bullish than others. So in this environment, this is a stock picker's environment in the sense that picking the stronger name is going to result in gains, whereas if you pick the wrong name, it's going to result in losses. Whereas before, if you bought any name at a certain period in time, you're going to be making money, and that's changing now. So for CGC, we're setting up real well for the bulls if we get a bullish reaction, of course. After hours here, we had some news about CGC and ACRG, so a little bit of a higher move up over 43 after hours, but it's all about 44.17. That's the level for the bulls to confirm a daily trend change if we break it for the first time since 52.74. So we need the bullish reaction to earnings to get that. Otherwise, it's a daily tightening range in an equilibrium, which makes sense as we're pretty much in a wait and see trading environment while we wait for those earnings tomorrow after hours. Cron bulls got a little bit of follow through, still very weak at this point. And again, even though Cron has seen a very significant bounce off the lows, we have not confirmed a daily trend change. That is the theme of this video. If a bull is going to prove anything to us from being in a downtrend, we must confirm daily trend changes with higher lows and higher highs. I don't care if you see a 30% bounce, if you don't follow it with a daily higher low and higher high in the week or two after that bull move, you don't prove anything. So Cron's on the chopping block. These bulls better show up because a daily higher low and higher high is needed. So we have our low. We're looking for a lower high compared to resistance of 1746 and 1786. If we get a bearish reaction to CGC, we're looking down at 1502. With a bullish reaction, we're still looking up at resistance. Weekly time frame for Cron, trying to change the trend. And we can actually change the weekly trend for Cron. Big bull move, trying for a weekly higher low, but we have to get over 1786 to change that weekly trend. APHA, very clear weak close. We're looking down at our recent low of 667, and if that breaks, we're looking down at 657 after that. So we have the broader equilibrium pattern, high, low, lower, high. No higher low has been set yet. We never changed the hourly trend for the bulls, and the bulls are trying to change the hourly trend back in their favor before breaking 629 support to try and stay in this tightening range. But as you can see where APHA and ACB closed, clearly a different scenario than how CGC closed. So ACB is weak as well, continuing to fade back down. Short-term support 736 and then 713 after it. Just daily lower highs clearly remaining intact for most names in the sector. Let's see if CGC can be the spark to ignite a shift in momentum. And the most interesting thing for me, if we do get a bullish reaction for CGC, is how significant do the other Canadian MJ names react. TLRY is shifting momentum in a big way. Look at this end of the day move on TLRY. Huge bull volume and just a very significant 4%, 5% move in the last 2 hours of trading. That's giving us the potential of the first clear daily trend change in a very long time on TLRY. So we have the low where we're coming from, the high of the bounce, higher low, and the bulls are going for a 46.65 break, which would be a very notable trend change on the daily time frame. 48.08, 50 psychological would be the next two levels after that. Can't disregard that volume and strength. That's the biggest green day that we've seen in just about a month plus of trading. So if CGC gets a bull reaction to earnings, if TLRY changes this daily trend confidently, it's going to start to shift that landscape in the Canadian MJ space as far as being in a long, prolonged downtrend. This whole summer lull that everybody on social media has been talking about. I mean, that's been the theme of social media in the last month, is all these retail traders really just, most of them, learning about summer lulls and sell in May and go away for the first time. And I think it's going to get priced in early. So we'll see if that plays out. Of course, if CGC had a bearish reaction to earnings, that would change things a bit. But a lot of people who are going to be waiting for the summer to be over are going to miss bottoms, in my opinion. We'll see. OGI, still very weak. Daily bear flag absolutely in play. 621 and 615 are supports. If we break those levels, we're looking at 6 psychological. No sign of the bulls whatsoever. Just a new resistance established at 661. Hexo is a different story. So even the names in the tier 2 names are breaking their correlations to each other. Hexo closed at the high of the day after breaking the inside bar bullish. Still certainly looking for a daily lower high compared to 680, but the bulls will take it at this point. It could still be a bear flag, absolutely. I'd say the bulls have to get over $6 to try and negate the daily bear flag. But just like everybody else, we need a clear daily higher low and higher high to change the trend for it to mean anything. And I am watching for a name like Hexo to change its daily trend, like I mentioned in the last video. Change that daily trend for the first time since all-time highs, and you'll have my interest. Because that's where we get a notable follow-through move in most instances in euphoric markets. And with Bitcoin just being the example that I gave, after a year of consolidation, the weekly trend change signaled the bottom. And we'll see if a daily trend change signals a clear momentum shift in names coming off their all-time highs. TRST bull reaction with volume behind it to news, breaking some resistance levels. 731 did not break, so we only broke one resistance level. If bulls can get over 731, their odds of being able to change the daily trend will increase. But again, prove it to me on the daily time frame, or you're not proving anything. We need a higher low and higher high, and that's going to take a while to play out. Even if this bull move is not done, we're going to have to top out, form the higher low and the higher high into the end of June if the bulls are going to prove anything to us. So 731, key resistance short term. After that, we're looking up at 787, so some nice space. Question is, can the bulls follow through with hourly continuation? Bull move in reaction to the news, hourly higher low trying to form. Can we get continuation? Have to break 729 first thing tomorrow morning to give confidence in that continuation and create more space on the daily for the bulls to form a daily higher low once we do top out. T-God, weak, bear flag on the daily. Bulls not proving anything. Daily exponential 12-period resistance continues to reject bounce attempts. Support is 319 and 313. And bulls aren't proving anything. Just another daily lower high. Certainly one of the weaker names at this point. VFF, solid little bounce here. We did get a bear break on this pattern, but I'm going to visualize it as if we hadn't. And the reason for that is because we broke support, but got no bear follow through when we started the bounce. So let's see if we get a lower high compared to 1386 as we're anticipating, and just a continued daily tightening range. The bears have slight favor because we broke this support level, so I'm not completely disregarding it, but this is where my discretion as an analyst, I can say or think whatever I want. So I don't have to set this concrete, set in stone, well, support broke, so we're bearish, because clearly we didn't get any follow through. So I'm still giving the bulls a chance here. I have no interest in this play right now, but I will be interested if we continue to tighten up, and then towards the end of June, if we were to top out, form a lower high, pull back, form a higher low, and then get a bull break, I'd be interested in VFF at that point. So I'm not writing it off. We'll keep an eye on it. IIPR continues to outshine everybody. A very quick pullback, a new support level established, and just like that, the bulls bounce 7% off the low of the day, close right under the all-time high, and the bulls are going to test that level first thing tomorrow. Very impressive. Look at this bounce on the hourly. Let's actually look at it on the 15-minute. Quick dump, and an even quicker bounce. Those are big gains real quick. 6% move in hour and a half. KSHB had some action at the end of the day. Look at this bull move and that volume in the last 10 minutes of trading. We went from 430 to 455. That's a very solid 5% move in the last 10 minutes. And why that interests me is because the bulls are potentially looking to change the daily trend for the first time in months. If we can see the bulls get a break of 481 here, that will be a clear trend change. It's a bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern. And if we get that bull break, it will be notable. Any individual name that changes their daily trend has our attention with where the current standing is in this sector. So it's all about 481. If we reject from 481, we'll look for a daily tightening range. And I'd be interested in playing that if we continue to tighten up and then we get a break. This is the kind of move where if we were to break 481 tomorrow, I would not be interested in buying a bull break. The reason being, we'd be way overextended, which is why there are instances where I want to see a rejection initially, cool off shorter term RSI levels, and then looking for a break. So we can't just say blanket statements, bull entry on a break of 481, because I need to know what the 5-minute, the 15-minute, and the hourly chart look like when we get that break. It makes a very significant difference. NBEV, I'm also interested for the potential of a daily trend change. We have the low of the dump, high of the bounce, higher low. If the bulls can break 492, that daily trend will change, and it will be a notable shift for the first time since we had a very clear bear break from a channel that we were trading within. 502 and 505 previous support will be resistance as well. So breaking 492, we have to be aware that there is still a resistance looming just behind that was previous support that the bulls will have to get over to prove themselves as well. CWeb standing out with a nicely timed news release. So here's an example of CWeb leading the pack with CL. We'll look at in just a second, but leading the pack on the bounce for USMJ. And it's individual news which is doing it. And perhaps the reason we closed so strong yesterday is because someone knew the news was coming. But we're breaking daily downtrend resistance, and we're closing over exponential resistances for the first time in over a month. This is a shift in momentum. Again, I still need the proof. I still need a higher low and a higher high, but we're up 30% from the low at this point. This is why I've been interested in the USMJ oversold bounces, because when they get moving, they move. And when we have directional momentum, there is illiquidity, and that illiquidity favors the bears on the way down and certainly favors the bulls on the way up. So 30% in 3 days, but we need a clear daily trend change once we top out. Lose the hourly uptrend, and we'll look for daily consolidation to begin. Anything above 1683 will be an hourly high or low. We have seen very little consolidation on the way up, so certainly getting extended. But once we lose the hourly uptrend, we're looking for a daily high or low, and we'll see if we can confirm that trend change from there. Keeping in mind the pattern that I'm watching on a lot of USMJ names, weekly lower highs. CWeb had a weekly lower high every single day for 11 weeks in a row. 10 weeks in a row. That pattern has now broken. There's a lot of other individual names that have the same pattern. So we're looking for other names to follow along. And right now, half the sector is trying to follow along, maybe less than half the sector. Half of the major names, that is. And the other half is still very weak. So we have names like IAN, which are on maybe the 11th week, still in this pattern. And we have GTII, maybe in the 7th week, still in this pattern, pulling back, lower high every week. But names that have been successful on their bounces, CWeb and CL, have broken that pattern. CL was a lower high every single week, 7 weeks in a row. That has now broken. Massive bounce, close at the high of the day. Next resistance is 1542 and 1601. Again, we'll need a daily trend change to confirm things, but you look at that monthly chart, and these monthly bulls are very comfortable with where they currently stand. Weekly time frame, next resistance zone at 16. But again, very fast turnaround, just like that. 3 days ago, CL was in the pits, bulls were bummed, and next thing you know, huge 30% bounce. Same thing with CWeb. CWeb had nothing going for it 3 days ago. It was down at the low, and just like that, the change happens. Question is, can that change happen to the other individual names as well? OH is continuing its bounce. The lesson for me on this oversold bounce play, which I went in pretty heavy on, was diversification. And fortunately, I went with OH and IAN. IAN got a 15% bounce. Can't complain with that, but certainly not as impressive as some of these other names. And while my position wasn't as ideal for IAN, my entry wasn't as great, it's being offset by OH saving the day from my entry on Friday. So the diversification in the sector is saving me on this play. Close at the high of the day, and we're looking at the next clear resistance of 1045, so 10 psychological will be next. We saw some consolidation this morning before a strong close at the end of the day, and we'll see if the bulls can keep it up Again, need the daily trend change, and here we are at daily exponential resistances, which have rejected the last few bounce attempts, and we're going to test those levels tomorrow. So names like CWeb getting over those levels and CL getting over those levels, that's notable. We'll see if OH can do it, but not holding my breath and not requiring the bulls to do it for me to be content. I'm certainly content with this bounce, and I'm looking forward to seeing what consolidation looks like and whether these healthy daily higher lows will be able to form. So now our weaker names, GTII, held the low, and bulls have to change momentum by breaking 1417. And you might say, is that a daily trend change from the low, high, higher, low, higher, high? You could say yes. For me, that's not a trend change that matters. That's just a little speed bump. It's a very brief bounce. It would be a clear 4-hour trend change, and that would be a notable shift on the 4-hour time frame. But as far as the daily chart goes, I would need more proving than that. I would need the bulls to get over the daily exponential resistances for the first time in almost 2 months, and I would need to start seeing some other major resistances break. That's a resistance level, but it's not a major daily resistance. So bulls will take it, but still a lot of proving to do, even if we do break 1417 from here. So just wanted to distinguish, yes, it's a shift in momentum. Yes, it's a clear 4-hour trend change, but doesn't prove a ton for me on the daily time frame. So GTII, weekly downtrend or weekly lower high pattern. We've got a lower high 3, 6, 9, 10 weeks in a row. Can the bulls break that pattern? Probably not this week. Certainly very unlikely this week. But we'll watch to see if other names follow along now that CWeb, CL, and OH are leading the pack. And I do believe that CGC will have an impact on USMJ names. I just don't think it'll be a direct correlation where we see tick for tick like we're used to in a lot of times. You know, whether it's oil in the market correlated or CGC and SPY correlation, very strong. I do think it's just a sentiment shift. So if CGC gets a bull break and a daily trend change and the Canadian MJ bulls all start to see some green, I think that confidence shift can trickle down into the USMJ space as well, but I'm not holding my breath hoping for it. Curaleaf, still very weak. Again, daily exponential resistance, just a very clear visual guide keeping the price contained. It's almost like a ceiling that's moving down. Have to see the bulls break 1040, but even then, I need to break a 1070 and 1193 for the bulls to start proving anything to me. Curaleaf on the weekly time frame, lower high every week for the 7th week in a row. Have to see that pattern break for a clear momentum shift, and we're not close to doing that at this point. IAN, Bears in full control, no volume. That's the only thing the bulls had going for him today. The Bears didn't have any volume, but we're right on top of this support again. So bulls have to hold 410 and break 478 to change this daily trend, and the odds don't favor it right now at this point because of all the weakness we're seeing, whether it's shorts choosing IAN and piling into it, whether it's longs and a lot of bag holders exiting on this bounce. I've seen in some social media places that some of the retail traders are bailing on IAN and adding CWeb and names that are seeing some strength. I don't think that's going to have a significant impact as far as the amount of retail that's leaving IAN for other names. I think a lot of it has to do with shorts still being in control and riding the bearish sentiment in the sector at this point. So it's going to be up to a clear sentiment shift, and it's probably going to require some news, just like CWeb showed us. News can do a whole lot with 30% in 3 days, and IAN, bulls need help. So my game plan with my position, again, I sold a good chunk end of Monday, start of Tuesday. I still have a position I'm holding, and if we drop to lower lows, I am not interested in adding unless things get extreme again. And that's what the bounce came from, extreme levels on the daily, the 4-hour, and the hourly. The weekly RSI is almost oversold now. We've seen a lower high every single week for 11 weeks in a row. That pattern has to break for a momentum shift, but if we drop down and break 410, I have no interest unless we break 4 psychological, then I'll start paying attention. If we break 4 psychological, the weekly RSI will be right at 30. The daily RSI will be back into the mid-20s. The 4-hour RSI would be back into the mid-20s. And if we get extreme again, that's when I'm interested. Otherwise, I'm patiently waiting, and my position is currently red right now. But I took off a good chunk that freed up cash, and it took some risk off, knowing that daily lower highs were going to form. And again, those OH gains from a much better entry are offsetting the red that's in IAN right now. So I'm still very comfortable in this trade, and I will rebuy the shares that I sold up here lower if we get to extremes. Otherwise, I'll just patiently wait for a daily trend change. So it's a very interesting shape that the sector is forming right now as far as how things are shaping up, which is what I meant to say. And the question is, can confidence from other individual names take some of the bearish pressure off of the names that aren't seeing any of that confidence? Will we see some profits from 30% in a few days on CWeb and CL? Will we see those go to other US MSOs? Or are we going to see further distancing of some clear leaders, technically speaking, versus clear laggards? And that's a possibility as well. We've seen that in Canadian MJ with CGC and Cron, technically speaking, very clearly holding up better than ACB and APHA and, of course, TLRY often. That's a possibility. Maybe we're seeing the maturing of this space, which is still in its infancy, but some jockeying for position. So it'll be interesting, as always, to see how it continues to play out. And we'll see what CGC earnings give us tomorrow. I appreciate you watching. Do good things. See you soon. Another garden update. So I'm running out of room. We've got all these tendrils, or whatever you want to call them, going all over the place. They're climbing the windows. They're doing their thing. So they're putting out the sour gherkins, and that's what they look like when they're ready. About the size of grapes. They look like little watermelons, and they're just little cucumbers that you pop in your mouth. Tomatoes starting to put all their fruit on, bunch of different varieties, so they're all doing well. These cucumbers still doing their thing. I saw the praying mantis who lives over here earlier today, but I don't see him now. Harvested a giant zucchini off of here just a couple days ago. Hopefully it'll keep putting others out. The flowers have started, only a couple. Hopefully in a week or so there'll be a lot more of those. There's a bird friend who just caught a bug. Potato plants are starting to die off and get weak. Heavy rain yesterday knocked these guys over, so I took a scarf that I had lying around and tied them up. But that's what they're supposed to do. The plants will just die off, and then late summer harvest those. Vines still crawling for these butternut squash, and the eggplant getting fatter. Harvested a couple of these peppers already, these little spicy green guys. The green beans have been going. The snap peas, you can see there's a whole bunch more fruit. And these are great snacks. These peppers are purple. I didn't really know that a purple bell pepper existed. I don't know if they're going to change to green or what, but that'll be interesting. More zucchini plants. They're putting out their baby zucchinis. The greens are getting much bigger. Kale and collards. And that's about it. This is my temporary spot, and I'm moving in, well, I'm in the process of moving now, so I'll keep checking on these over the next 6 weeks or so. And then we get to start a whole much bigger project with a whole bunch of raised beds and all kinds of fun stuff. So garden updates will change a bit over the next couple of months, and I look forward to sharing.